Hey there, StudyBuds! I'm your StudyBud Claire, here to talk about the different parts of speech that make up a sentence. To function properly, a sentence needs its essential elements and parts of speech to be correctly combined and effectively used. There are 9 known basic parts of speech. Just a reminder, you can always pause the video to take a closer look at the examples given on your screen. Take your time, StudyBuds! First up, let's talk about nouns. Now, you've probably heard of them multiple times, but in this lesson, we are going to look at nouns through teeny tiny microscopic lenses. A noun is a word naming something, may it be a person, a location, or an object. Nouns often need a word called an article or determiner, which is merely the every the, these or those, and an or a that come before our nouns. Nouns can name a person, identify places, label objects, while they can also be intangible items like ideas, events, or systems, and even hypothetical or imaginary. A type of noun, which is the proper noun, uses a specific name of an individual, place, or thing, and is always capitalized. Now, the opposite of a proper noun is the common noun, sometimes called a generic noun. If everything is clear to you, let's proceed to the types of common nouns, which are concrete nouns, abstract nouns, and collective nouns. A concrete noun is something which the senses perceive, something which is physical or real. In comparison, an abstract noun is something which the senses cannot experience. A collective noun, on the other hand, denotes a community of persons or objects, or even sets. Now let's go to nouns as subjects versus nouns as objects. The subject of the sentence is the person, place, or thing that does or is doing the action in the sentence. An object can either be a direct object or an indirect object. Next, we have nouns as subject and object complements. Subject complements usually trail linking verbs like to be, become, or seem. Verbs which denote creating, naming, or making are often accompanied by object complements. Another type of nouns are appositive nouns. An appositive noun is a noun which follows another noun immediately for further meaning or identification. Plural nouns. Unlike collective nouns, plural nouns require plural verbs. Although there are some exceptions, most English plural nouns can be formed by adding s or es to the singular form. Now let's go to countable nouns versus uncountable nouns. Countable nouns are nouns that can be counted. Uncountable nouns are nouns that come in a state or quantity that cannot be counted. Still not tired of hearing my beautiful voice, right? Because now we have possessive nouns. Possessive nouns are nouns that possess something, with most nouns with an apostrophe and an s showing the possession. The same style also occurs where a single noun finishes on letters s or z, but most style guides advise leaving off the extra s. Now that we're done with nouns, let's go to pronouns. Pronouns can be substituted for other nouns to avoid redundancy and repetition. There are different types of pronouns, but first, let's talk about personal pronouns. Personal pronouns are me and I, him and he, us and we, and they and them. An antecedent is a word that you refer to at the beginning of a sentence or story and substitute with a pronoun later. It is also possible to use a pronoun before putting the antecedent, but it may make it difficult to understand the context of the sentence. Relative pronouns are used for linking relative clauses to individual clauses and include what, when, and who. Subject and object pronouns. Who, like I, he, she, we, and they is a topic pronoun, while whom is an example of an object pronoun, like me, him, her, us, and them. Demonstrative pronouns take the place of a noun or noun phrase that has already been mentioned and use this, that, those, and these. Indefinite pronouns are used when referring to a person or object you don't need to clearly describe. Reflexive pronouns finish off with self or selves. Intensive pronouns appear the same as reflexive pronouns, but they have different functions. Possessive pronouns are used to express something that belongs to an antecedent. Absolute possessive pronouns can be substituted for the thing that belongs to the antecedent. Interrogative pronouns are the ones mostly used when it comes to asking questions, usually using who, what, whose, where, and when. Now we're down to verbs. Verbs are words that show an action, occurrence, or state of being. In simpler terms, verbs are action words. Verbs have three forms. Base form is used as the infinitive form, with to or without to. Past form is used for the past simple. The ed form is used after the auxiliary have and be. A verb can either be regular or irregular. Regular verbs add ing to the base form to make the ing form, and ed to the base form to make the past simple and the ed form. Irregular verbs follow the same rules as regular verbs for the present simple, but have different forms for the past simple and ed form. These are sometimes the verbs that don't undergo any changes. There are also different kinds of verbs. These are action verbs, linking verbs, and auxiliary verbs. Action verbs express any physical or mental activity. Some action verbs can also express actions that cannot be seen by the eye. There are two classes of action verbs. It can either be transitive or intransitive. An action verb can be transitive when the action it describes is directed toward a person or a thing. The action passes from the subject to the receiver of the action. The receiver can also be either a direct or an indirect object. The receiver can be a direct object when the action is directly received from the subject. The receiver can be an indirect object when the action is received indirectly. This means that the indirect object names the person to whom or for whom the action is for. The action verb can also be intransitive when referring to an action that is already complete in itself. It doesn't need a receiver of the action. Linking verbs, on the other hand, do not express action. Instead, they link with the subject a word that describes in some other ways. Auxiliary verbs or helping verbs help form some of the tenses, the mood, and the voice of the main verb. There are also different properties of verbs. Number indicates if the verb is singular or plural. Both subject and verb must be singular or plural. Person indicates whether the subject of the verb is first, second, or third person and whether it is singular or plural. Voice indicates whether the subject is acting or acted upon. An active voice indicates the subject of the verb is doing something. A passive voice indicates that the subject is being acted upon. Tense indicates time. Every verb has three principal parts: the present, the past, and the past participle. Let's discuss about simple tenses. Present tense is when an action is being done at the present time or which happens regularly and usually uses singular action verbs s or es. Present tense can also indicate general truth, facts that are permanently true, continuing action, and special activities and occasions that take place. Past tense expresses something that has been done in the past. Future tense indicates an action that will take place in the future with the use of will and shall. To discuss further, let's go to perfect tenses. Present perfect tense expresses an action that has begun at some past time resulting in completion before the moment of speaking. Past perfect tense expresses a past action that happened before another past action. Future perfect tense expresses an action that have been completed or finished at some future time. Finally, let's talk about progressive tenses. Present progressive tense expresses an action that is going on at the moment. Past progressive tense expresses the earlier of two past actions. Future progressive tense expresses an activity that will occur before another activity in the future without continuity of the action. A mood of the verb indicates tones or attitudes in which the statement is made. Indicative mood is used to state a fact. Imperative mood is used to give a command. Subjunctive mood is used to express the condition which is contrary to fact, doubt or uncertainty, or a wish. Now let's talk about subject-verb agreement and how it works. An agreement in grammar means correspondence in person and number. This means that when a subject agrees with its predicate, both the subject and predicate verb have the same person and number. Indefinite pronouns can either take singular verbs or plural verbs. The expression "a number of" is plural, while "the number of" is singular. Nouns denoting quantity, fraction, percentage, and currency take a singular verb, but if they are followed by the phrase "of the object determines the number of verb. Nouns ending in s but singular in meaning are singular. Collective noun, taken as one unit, takes a singular verb. It can be plural if every member of the group is thought of as an individual doing his own task. Now let's proceed to adjectives, which are words that describe or modify nouns and pronouns. They can describe relationships between two things, description of people and things in terms of actions, features that will not change, states and conditions that can change, and classifying people and things into types. Descriptive adjectives tell what kind, and it gives the physical aspect of the noun following this order: limiting adjective, quality, size, shape, color, and participle. Limiting adjectives tell us how many, how much, and which one. Noun adjectives are nouns that are used as an adjective. Proper adjectives come from a proper name, hence it begins with a capital letter. Numerical adjectives are either cardinal or ordinal. The cardinal is used in counting and stating quantities, while the ordinal is used in indicating a place, rank, or position in a series. Indefinite adjectives are indefinite pronouns that act as a modifier of a noun. Demonstrative adjectives are demonstrative pronouns used to modify a noun. Quantitative adjectives indicate how much of something is spoken about. Adjectives also have 3 degrees of comparison, first of which is the positive degree, which describes a noun or pronoun without comparing it to anyone or anything. Comparative degree compares 2 persons, places, things, or ideas. Superlative degree compares 3 or more persons, places, things, or ideas. Now let's go to adverbs. An adverb modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb and qualifies the meaning of the words they modify by telling how, when, where, why, how much, how often, and to what extent. There are 4 classifications of adverbs, first of which is the adverb of time, which tells us when, how often, and how long the action was done. The adverb of place tells us where, to where, and from where the action was done. The adverb of manner, on the other hand, often ends with ly and tells how something is done. And the adverb of degree tackles how much or how little action was done. Much like adjectives, adverbs also have 3 different degrees of comparison. First of which is the positive degree, which describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb without showing comparison. The comparative degree compares 2 verbs, adjectives or adverbs, while the superlative degree compares 3 or more verbs, adjectives and adverbs. In positioning adverbs and adjectives, to avoid confusion, place the adjective and adverb verb, phrase, or clause next to or near the word the adjective or adverb describes or modifies. Misplaced modifiers are adjectives or adverbs placed incorrectly in the sentence and thus describes the wrong idea. Squinting modifiers are adjectives or adverbs placed between 2 possible words, either of which the adjective or adverb could describe. Entangling modifiers are adjectives or adverbs that modify nothing in the sentence. Now we're down to prepositions. Prepositions are often referred to as function words and act as bridges which join 2 parts of a sentence, providing necessary information such as location and time. Prepositions have 5 different types. First of which we will discuss is simple prepositions, which are words that are used to define the relationship between nouns, pronouns, or to join parts of a clause or sentence. One subcategory of prepositions are place prepositions, which are used to describe where something is located. Direction prepositions are used to describe where something is going. Time prepositions are used to describe the days, months, seasons, or time something takes place. And defining prepositions are used to introduce something. But what happens when we combine 2 simple prepositions? Simple. We have double prepositions, which are 2 simple prepositions combined and used as one word. Next, we have compound prepositions, which are formed through the conjunction of a non-prepositional word and a simple preposition. The words remain 2 different words as opposed to double prepositions, which combines 2 words to form one. Now we're down to participle prepositions, which are participles that act as prepositions, with participles being verbs ending in ing, en, or ed. Finally, we have phrase prepositions, which are a group of verbs, adverbs, and other words that function as a preposition. Now that we're done with prepositions, let's go to interjections. Deemed as the least important part of speech, interjections are solely designed to convey emotion in an abrupt and exclamatory way, not necessarily altering the meaning of an idea, since they do not particularly relate grammatically to the rest of the sentence. They can also be used as a standalone sentence, which can be grammatically correct. The emotion is the entire point of the sentence. Our next part of speech are conjunctions, which serve as bridges that link other words, phrases, or clauses together to form parallel ideas. One type is the coordinating conjunctions, which are words that allow you to join equal words, phrases, and clauses in a sentence. Correlative conjunctions are pairs of conjunctions that work together and require equal or parallel structures after each one. Conjunctive adverbs are conjunctions that join independent clauses together by adding a semicolon after the first independent clause and a comma after a conjunctive adverb, followed by the second independent clause. And subordinating conjunctions are conjunctions that also join clauses together but make one clause dependent or subordinate to the other in the process. Now we're down to our last part of speech, the articles. Articles are a type of adjective and are a small set of words or affixes used before nouns to limit or give definiteness to the application. The definite article, the, is used before singular and plural nouns when the noun is specific, indicating that the identity of the noun is known to the reader. Now let's tackle different article uses with count and non-count nouns. Count nouns refer to items that can be counted and are either singular or plural. Non-count nouns refer to items that are indefinite in quantity and cannot be counted and are always singular. Here are some of the rules that you need to follow when using count and non-count nouns if the specific identity is not known. Use the indefinite article a or an only with a singular count noun whose specific identity is not known to the reader. Use a before nouns that begin with a consonant sound and use n before nouns that begin with a vowel sound. Use the article a or an to indicate any non-specified member of a group or category. Use the article a or an to indicate one in number, as opposed to more than one. Use the article a before a consonant sound and use n before a vowel sound. In some situations, an adjective comes between the article and noun. The plural form of a or an is some. Use some to indicate an unspecified, limited amount, but more than one. If the specified identity is known, use the definite article the with any noun, whether singular or plural, count or non-count, when the specific identity of the noun is known to the reader, as in the following situations. Use the article the when a particular noun has already been mentioned previously. Use the article the when an adjective, phrase, or clause describing the noun clarifies or restricts its identity. Use the article the when the noun refers to something or someone that is unique. And if all things or things in general is stated, use no article with plural count nouns or any non-count nouns used to mean all or in general. That's all for our lesson on parts of speech, StudyBuds. Until next time.